is No Gifts Please, the parenting podcast by the pair with no real gifts, but a whole lot of gumption. Hey everyone, I'm Steve Noviello.
And I'm Jenny Anchondo.
Good to see you. Welcome back. So we have a guest today, which I'm excited about. The food battle in our house continues. There was a moment there where it was really getting better.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, like we're good. We were away. This is a longer story than it needs to be, but we were away at my sister's lake house last summer, and she made chicken. It's so funny. They ate whatever she put in front of them. I was like, how is it? Probably because there were no other options, right? So I have convinced them that this is Aunt Chrissy's chicken every time I cook it.
Like she flies, you fly it in.
Exactly. Like we have school hot dogs that they're convinced I get from school.
Okay.
Which I do not.
Possible though. You're on the.
We're close.
The
I'm on I run that lunchroom, right? But I'm like, why are you so picky? You're so picky. Like, I look at some friends of mine, they're like, we went for hibachi with the kids. And I was like, are you effing kidding me?
Hibachi's Kids like hibachi. They would
Not
like
mine.
hibachi. Are you sure?
We took them. They liked the show.
Okay. Well, that was a very expensive trial.
And then had like chicken fingers.
Oh, no.
I'm like, why don't we go for sushi, kids?
Oh, my gosh. Okay. Well, maybe our guest today can help. If nothing else, I'm hoping she can. It's like, we're just trying to prevent issues down the road, right? And like have the right language over food. And when there's battles like this.
Well, this is the thing. I am now concerned. What is my constant
verbiage?
How am I changing or molding their relationship with food? That's my bigger issue.
The story of my life when I lay my head down at night. Okay, so let me tell you about our guest. She is Kathryn Johnson. She actually grew up here in the Dallas area, earned her degree in food and nutrition from the University of Alabama, and then her master's in counseling from Louisiana State University. And when you hear what she does, you'll understand why that combo is really important. So she's actually worked in the eating disorders field since 2008. And she right now works at Eating Recovery Center in Dallas. Opened up in 2014. She's been there ever since as the nutrition director. So she does work primarily with adult patients and enjoys working with patients who have complex, severe eating disorders. So we're sort of rewinding on that, right? Like learning from her expertise about how we can speak with our children now. Kathryn, welcome. We are so glad to have you here. And we have 27 billion questions.
I'm happy to answer them all.
So first up, I think that most people, when they hear eating disorder, they think anorexia or bulimia. Period. That's it. That's really not the whole spectrum here, I'm assuming.
Yes. So we do treat anorexia, and we have an offshoot of that called OSFED. So there's many people who restrict and may meet criteria for anorexia or bulimia or another eating disorder, with the exception of maybe like 1 to 2 of the data points in the DSM. And so that can actually be really challenging for a patient if they think they have anorexia and they're told they have OSFED, because they're going to internalize that as my eating disorder is not that bad, or I'm not good enough at my eating disorder.
Right, like I can't even do that right.
Right.
Yes.
So, but we're still going to treat that patient the exact same. Also, of course, we have bulimia. We do have binge eating disorder. So, and that's probably the most common eating disorder. And because it's been somewhat normalized in our society to restrict and then to overdo it, many people aren't receiving treatment or aren't acknowledging how much of an issue that is. And then we also have ARFID, which is avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. It's more commonly seen in kids, but it can be seen in any age. And so that can be the extremely picky eating that you guys were talking about. It could also be that maybe a patient choked when taking medicine or food went down the wrong pipe, and then now they're convinced that anytime I
it's a bad association.
eat a food, so they're going to completely change their diet. And with that, it just typically is going to affect their growth. But also as they're getting older, it really affects their social life, because if I only have certain foods or I can only eat from certain places, then they're not able to be on the soccer team or eat at school or go out with their friends. It really creates a very insular
Before
world.
we get too far down the road, there was the distinction, the first one, anorexia, and was it OSFED?
OSFED. And so that...
What are the differences in data point for someone who's like, oh, wait, she didn't tell me that?
Right. So with someone who has anorexia, one of the things that they're going to be looking at is what is the percentage of body weight. So how underweight, quote unquote, are they? And so I think what we're seeing a lot more is like maybe there are people in larger bodies who have begun restricting, but they go to the doctor or however they're monitoring and they're like, oh, well, your weight's in a perfectly fine place. Well, you've lost half of your body weight in 6 months. And even though your body weight is okay for your height, there's a lot of other things that are telling us that you're not medically stable.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because the standards for body sizes can be so different, right? Based on your bone structure and your genetics and things like that. What might be a normal body weight for somebody might not be normal. So that's interesting for parents to just keep an eye on that too.
Right.
Just changes in their children and not like instead of having that feel of people definitely do this, like, oh, my kid's starting to look good. Well, there could be a problem there. It could be from unhealthy means, perhaps.
And really, when you're going to the doctor, like when you're a child, you should not be losing weight.
Right.
And also, as especially like girls are going through puberty, they're going to gain about 40% of their body weight. And I think a lot of times that's when they become incredibly self-conscious about their bodies and people are commenting about their bodies or noticing their bodies a little bit more. But typically they're going to gain weight and then get a little bit taller. Boys are usually going to get taller. And again, there's still that focus on their body and what they're eating and how skinny they are. And then they're going to gain weight to catch up. So that's just a really challenging time. And families can be really uncomfortable with the weight gain that's needed. Yeah.
I hear you talking a lot about food relationships. So let's kind of rewind to Jenny and I both have very young children or youngish. I almost have to stop saying that because they're
we do.
Right?
We both have babies.
Yes.
So how do you foster a healthy relationship? Because I think sometimes, and I'm guilty of this myself, like my son's like, oh, I want goldfish. And I'll say, help yourself. And he'll pour himself a huge bowl. And I'll say something like, oh, you don't want to eat too many. You'll get a big belly. Yeah. Or, you know.
Oh my gosh. You say that to him.
Do people not say that?
No.
I think people say it. That's why we're talking about it today.
Steve, you cannot say that.
But he doesn't have one. But okay, so to my point, hey, listen, the name of the show is No Gifts for a reason.
Listen, I say my version of some other harmful thing, I'm sure. But I don't, it's my blind spot. I don't know what it is.
But listen to me when I tell you that comes from a place of love because I am seeing 3 years down the road, if for some reason you do have an unhealthy relationship, you enjoy carbs, you're disinterested in running. That's a terrible combination. That might come to bite you in the ass one day in a way that's going to make you feel really bad about yourself, and I don't want that to happen.
So it's like protecting. I don't want you to experience something where you don't feel your best or that you can't do the things.
Listen, we live in a society, unfortunately, where
you're judged by people.
Where being heavy is less than, and it sucks, but that's what it is, you know? So gosh, you're already different enough from all the other kids with 2 dads and everything else. I don't want this to be like one more thing.
Yeah. So I hear that. I mean, I definitely hear where you're coming from.
So what I'm hearing is perhaps the not the best language for me.
What do we do?
Using.
Can you give like an exact sentence when the goldfish pour is above Steve's
and by the way, both of them do this, not just the goldfish consumer.
Well, I think in that instance, you could say like, yeah, sure. Like here's a bowl or plate or like, let's fill up this cup and we'll be eating dinner in, 30 minutes. So I want to make sure that you're able to kind of eat a wide variety of foods. So if you're really hungry when you're done, let me know. I'll see if I can, put that salad on the table or I can work a little bit faster.
Hold on, I have to like internalize the exact sentence. It was like, I want to make sure you're able to eat a wide variety of foods at dinner. It was like, there was an openness to it that I think is just like subtle changes for me.
And it's not like shaming any of the food.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I want you to be able to have food. Like we're not restricting.
Well, they're all positive, proactive words. Right. Not once did you say, I don't want you to suffer this consequence, right? It was like, hey, I want to enable you to enjoy, X, Y, and Z.
Exactly.
Okay. So
what are some of the things that you end up hearing from your patients who are in treatment, that like these repeat sentences that families, parents might be saying that we don't even realize we're saying, that end up becoming detrimental to the super sensitive girl or boy?
Yeah. So I think one thing that all parents can do, as soon as they have had a child, is really focus on, how am I talking about my body and my food? Because kids really pick that up a lot sooner than you may think. We see kids at 3, 4 that are expressing interest in going on diets and cutting out certain foods and wanting their bodies to be in a certain way. And I mean, that's just incredibly sad.
Yeah.
But if your mom or dad is constantly shaming their own body, and really the connection that gets made is, I'm not in the weight or the size that I would like to be, so therefore I am a bad person. A 3, 4-year-old is going to take that and say, oh, well, am I a bad person? I was eating some of the same things that my mom or dad ate, or this other person that they're talking about, and they're not able to get into the minutia of that. We wouldn't expect a 3 or 4-year-old to do that. Or if you're sitting down and saying things like, oh my gosh, I've been terrible today.
Right. The unintended language.
Because then you're saying
right?
that you're a bad person, which you're not a bad person. You just ate candy.
Right. Like how many times do we say, oh, let's be bad and get dessert.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe, and you
I
don't
went through
know
extensive eating disorder treatment, so I know not to say that, but I would have never known that.
Right.
And obviously nobody around me knew that. Like,
but you think that
to
you know that you don't mean let's be bad people and do this, but you don't realize that your 4-year-old or your 5-year-old doesn't realize that.
And so that is something that gets implanted. And even as we're doing treatment, because at Eating Recovery Center, we work with kids, adults, we do a ton of family work. I will be talking to someone who's 35 years old, and when we're walking through it, it is that I did this, so I'm a bad person.
Right. Yeah. So
sometimes, like, we're having conversations, I'm like, okay, well, in the process of having dinner last night, did you steal your dinner?
Right.
Was there a hit and run and that wasn't reported on the news? Because you're telling me you sat down and ate this meal. That is completely separate from your morals. But morality and food get tied up a ton, because being good means typically like exercising, following a clean diet, could potentially mean like losing weight. And then being bad is eating foods that other people may say, okay, these are, again, quote unquote, like junk foods. You shouldn't eat that all the time, or like going out to eat at restaurants, or I didn't feel great today, so I didn't exercise. And part of that can be honoring your body. You know, if like I am coming down with the flu, the last thing I should do is go run 5 miles. That's not going to help. But our patients have a really hard time in distinguishing between that. And they do truly feel that I am a bad person. I have done something wrong. People won't love me. I won't be able to accomplish these things unless I'm engaging in my eating disorder.
I'm wondering what to do if there is a parent that has a health goal. I mean, somebody who just had a baby. Most people after they have a baby have a significant, I mean, just naturally, there's a significant amount of weight to lose most of the time. So that usually is a process that takes a little while. And then the child could even be in that 3-4 year old age when you're still trying to lose it. Or a dad that has health goal, like he wants to run a marathon. He wants to be strong. He, heaven forbid, wants to have a body that he thinks looks good. Like, how do we align those things when you do, as an adult, as a parent, have goals for your body, but you want to set forth this healthy image and not be too image focused?
And I think part of that, you know, let's say somebody gets diagnosed with diabetes. That's going to change what is potentially served in the home or what, you know, I'm eating. And so I think it's a little bit about having that conversation with them in an age appropriate way. You know, it's like, okay, you know, I talked to the doctor, you know, like the last time you went to the doctor, they gave you some medicine that you needed to take. This is something that my doctor is wanting me to do. but let's not center our lives around it.
Sure.
I think a lot of people sit down at dinner time and they start talking about the food, or maybe, I mean, I'm down to gossip with anybody, but a lot of times there might be like some gossiping about, oh my gosh, did you see this person? Or, they haven't been able to lose weight and they're 3 years postpartum. And so the focus is on the weight and the food, even though dinner time is a great time. Tell me about school. What was the coolest thing that you learned today? Was there anything that was a challenge? Like, let's not sit down in front of the food and talk about the food and then talk about the exercise that we're going.
I'm going to eat this.
Right. So, I mean, if you have set a health goal or that you're wanting to run a marathon, that's something that doesn't necessarily have to be taboo, but a lot of times it just does become the center of our conversations. So and what I would recommend to our families is that you can go and exercise. That can be something that's really important to you, but it probably isn't great to pick up your child and you're, wearing your leggings or, okay, I just got back from pickleball, whatever that may be, and then talking about that.
I hear you.
But you could still have the conversation of like, oh my gosh, the funniest thing happened today when I was playing tennis with, my sister. She tripped and she fell down. Oh my gosh, it was so.
It's the aside, right?
Yeah.
So a couple of questions here. So one, I mean, there are some parents out there who are going to tune in and say, but you know what? At the end of the day, my 7-year-old is overweight and he or she does need to lose weight. So when they say to me, why can't I have a piece of cake? Why can't I have the ice cream? Why can't I have a bigger piece of a second helping, whatever? I mean, the honest answer is there's a medical reason. So how do you, I know that you're not saying don't be honest with your kids, but what do we say to them? Hey, we're all going to live a healthier lifestyle and we're all doing this. And I mean, how do you navigate that?
The main thing that I would focus on is that when a child, especially if I'm 6, 7 years old, that child shouldn't be actively losing weight. Okay. Like we really want to focus on supporting linear growth. So getting taller.
I mean, I'm not obviously not questioning your credential here, but like I hang out in the lunchroom cafeteria. There are some overweight 9-year-olds that are running around at school. I mean, but
maybe they just haven't shot up. They haven't grown yet.
So, right. So, but that's really my question. So a parent who is in that stage, that's like, oh gosh, my kid, like you are bigger than all the other girls. You are bigger than all the other boys. But from a weight standpoint, not from a height standpoint, you're thinking, okay, this kid needs to lose some weight. Am I hearing you correctly that actually, no, they don't? Like wait it out until they grow?
I would wait it out a little bit, but at the same time, look at, okay, are we as a family or is my child engaging in some unhealthy behaviors?
Right. Particularly if I'm overweight as well, and so is my child.
So
right.
if we are, getting fast food every single night, we're not really planning things out. We're not an active family. Like we want people to be able to be active. We just don't want exercise to be their only coping skill. Kids are going to be much more involved when they're a part of that activity. So if you say, okay, I'm going to go watch TV, you need to go outside and play, as opposed to, oh, okay, we're all going to ride our bikes. We're going to go walk the dog. Right, this is something that we're going to do. We're going to start cooking more at home.
Sure.
And get the child involved with it. Like, what are the things that would be age appropriate for them to chop up?
Right.
Let's sit down and we're going to look at recipes together. Because the issue is never that they had one piece of cake. There's a lot of things that are going in. So if I'm having like 2 or 3 pieces of cake a day, well, yeah, that's probably not the healthiest decision I could make. But okay, let's sit down and what we're going to cook this chicken. We've got the option between like barbecue. Oh, this is a good like Italian marinade that we could make. Do you think that we should
be part of it, right?
Be part of it. Let's go to the grocery store and pick out one vegetable and one fruit that we've never tried before.
That's fun.
And let's figure out a way to incorporate it. Doesn't mean that they're going to love it immediately, but they may love cutting into that pomegranate and seeing
but they'll love being part of the process, right? Because if there's one thing my kids do love, it's being like daddy.
Right.
So, okay, I want to bring you back to dinner for a second and we do this in our house, and maybe we shouldn't, but I think that, and first of all, let me say, I want to commend you on including both boys and girls in this topic. I think far too often we think, oh, well, that's just a problem for girls. Like they're the ones with eating disorders, they're the ones with bad relationships with food.
And so many boys go without diagnosis because the people they're seeing don't they couldn't have an eating disorder.
And especially post-COVID, like I feel like eating disorders have really shot up after the pandemic. Absolutely. Okay, so let's get back to the dinner table. Because on the flip side, listen, I think that we use food as a reward system, right? Not only for ourselves, but for our children, right? Oh, finish your dinner, you can have a piece of candy, blah, blah, blah. So there's the other side as well, which is like, I probably incorrectly praise my kids for finishing everything that's on their plate. And I'm sitting here talking to you, thinking to myself, that might be just as detrimental as the flip side of the stuff that we were talking about, earlier. I mean, how do you manage that? Like, hey, I want you to get enough nutrients and vitamins and sustenance and whatnot, but I also don't want you to have this weird relationship with, you must eat everything, you must eat past because listen, if there's no one better than a kid at being able to express, I am not hungry for dinner, but I'm real hungry for dessert,
Yeah. So. And so if we're in a family where we must complete our food, like if it's on our plate, like we're a clean plate cub.
Should we be that family is really baseline?
No.
Okay.
Because then that's teaching a child to not listen to their body.
Okay.
And so that's not just a food thing, because maybe I feel I'm in an uncomfortable situation
and I should stick it out.
Right. And this is what my parents would want me to do. We want them to be in tune with their body. If I feel uncomfortable, if I feel full, if I feel sick, then that can lead to a lot of issues down the road. So I think that it's when I'm talking about like true hunger, if somebody is like, yeah, I'll eat that chicken. Yeah, I'll eat those mashed potatoes. I'll eat those green beans. I definitely want that cake. Like that is someone who's hungry.
Okay.
A craving is very much more specific, focused. So if your child is saying, yeah, I don't really want any of that. But can you get me some ice cream from the freezer? I think it's okay to say, hey, like if you're saying you're not hungry right now, like should we push lunch or dinner? Like we can push it back like 30 minutes or so. And then, if you're still hungry afterwards, then we can have ice cream or cake or whatever it may be. So again, kind of involving them in that decision.
We do that with our younger son. With him, it's kind of a control thing sometimes. He'd be like, well, we'll be like, listen, buddy, like you can eat dinner now, or you can eat it when we're sitting on the couch during family time. And he'll be like, I'll have it later.
Yeah.
And he will. And he's really good at being like, well, he'll be like, I want a snack. And we'll be like, here's your grilled chicken and green beans from earlier, kiddo.
That's your snack.
And you know what? He'll sit there and he'll eat it. And then generally when he's done, then he'll have some sort of treat of some sort. And with him, I think it's kind of just like a game, right? Maybe it's control. Maybe it's I'm not hungry earlier. Maybe it's, whatever the case may be. But it gets the job done.
And I like to give two options for kids. Like never have an option that you can't follow through on. So if it's like you can eat with us at the table, or I'll check in with you in 30, 45 minutes. And if you're hungry, that's when you can have it. So again, they're thinking, here are my two options, instead of, well, what do you want to do?
Right.
Because that can be so
overwhelming,
big and overwhelming.
It's just like with activities or with pants.
Right.
Like you can pick the pink or the blue or whatever.
Right.
So
here's your implied choice.
That was what you just explained, and I don't know if other parents will find this helpful too. Sometimes there will be like the after dinner sort of like we ate kind of early, and then it's like, oh, it's time to go to bed, and they're hungry, and I because of my background, I'm so hesitant to like push away hunger and to say, no, you need to go to bed, thinking I don't want to make her to go to bed hungry, but also like I kind of feel like, why didn't you eat more dinner? So what I'm hearing you say is at that moment, it's not like we're not offering ice cream if that wasn't in the plan for that night, but like, hey, we've got oranges and we've got bananas.
Yeah,
or yogurt. Which one do you want? Orange or banana?
Which one do you prefer? Yeah. And there may be sometimes that dessert is included.
Yeah.
But if every night before I go to bed, I have to have, a popsicle or I have to have ice cream or cake,
Chips.
like
it's tough.
That maybe isn't the option that we're giving. Like, yes, sometimes we might say, hey, you could have some tortilla chips or you could have some pretzels. And the next night it may be, oranges or yogurt.
Okay.
So that I'm helping offer this variety. And then if, no, I don't want that. No, I don't want that. Then it could also be a little bit of, hey, okay, well, you know what? I have to go to the grocery store in a couple days. Why don't we sit down tomorrow?
Love it.
And think about.
Or come with me or whatever.
We're going to try out
There's
some
a question
different things.
that's nagging me before you go.
Okay.
I'm wondering, you're seeing more adult clients in your practice. Is there anything routinely that you hear these clients say about their childhood that really prompted this cascade into disordered eating?
Well, trauma is absolutely something that can co-occur with eating disorders. And we do work with children at Eating Recovery Center as well.
Gotcha.
8 is our youngest to however old someone is. I think in the 70s is probably the oldest that we've worked with. But I think that there is a lot of judgment about bodies. And so that could be something, I'm not even sure if they're still doing this in schools, where they would weigh you in front of everyone and, say so-and-so weighs X amount of pounds. Or maybe friends, family members were commenting about their body. And that doesn't mean that you don't have a good relationship with your family. You can love your family and develop a really bad eating disorder. But a lot of times it is this judgment and there is this morality. And if you're asking them to recall, they can be like, well, I was in the 7th grade. I just gone back to school. We were having meatloaf, like the level of detail that they can remember.
Right.
And this person said something like, oh God, like, have you not eaten today? Or you want like something about,
or they look at you and say thunder thighs or something.
Yeah. And it may be that, oh, that was a joke. We joke like that with everyone in our family. But a lot of our patients are super feelers. And so they're going to take that on and they're going to remember it. And then we'll have a conversation with like their brother, their parents. And they're like, I don't remember that.
Right.
And it's
not a core memory for them.
Right. But it's something that happened. And really from that day on, my life was different because people don't wake up and say, you know what, I want to have an eating disorder. A majority of people say, I'm going to go on this diet. And then by lunchtime, they're like, oh, okay, y'all want to go out for lunch? Like where you want to go? Like it's kind of a figment of their imagination. And our patients decide, okay, I'm going to make some changes. I'm going to stop drinking soda. I'm going to stop eating dessert. I'm going to exercise X amount of times per day. And then they aren't able to stop. And they don't feel good. And there's this disconnection from family and friends, but the way their brains are wired are just a little bit different.
There's an element of powerlessness there. We're out of time, but before we go, where can people find you if they want more information about what you guys are doing?
Go to eatingrecoverycenter.com. If somebody needs to do an assessment to determine level of care, that is 100% free. And if the recommendation is that you need to do outpatient, or that would be appropriate, then we can provide referrals. We want people in the right level of care.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yes.
We could sit here for hours talking about this. I appreciate you. I know we didn't cover everything, but listen, it's a good start. It's so funny because from such a young age, I mean, I'm thinking back to when the boys were teeny tiny and how often are you, yay, you ate, right? Like,
Totally.
Good job. Like, you finished your whole bottle. I mean, that early, right? Like, look at, he ate 4 ounces today.
Yeah.
Like, we celebrate.
I think we're safe when they're babies.
Well, but that's where it starts,
true,
though, right?
No,
and then you're
totally
like, okay,
right.
now we're on soft food. Now we're on solid food. Yay, look at this. We're like, And I know that food is part of our culture, and it's the way that we come together as people and whatnot. But there's so much emphasis on
I think it's just like softening the congratulatory one way or the other. Like, oh, good job, you didn't eat that quote unquote bad food,
right? Or
like not labeling the stuff, just sort of being. And it sounds like too, they're born, right? Like they're born with the stop. They're born with the satiety. Mm-hmm. So it's like on us to kind of not mess with that.
Yeah.
But it's easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you're in a rush and sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, if they don't eat a vegetable, like I'm going to lose it.
Well, listen, we've had another nutritionist on as well that said you've got to stop looking, like our pediatrician told us very early on, he said you've got to stop looking at each meal and look at each week.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing pretty good over the course of the week and you're coming in here and they're gaining weight and they're healthy, we're good to go.
Oh, you know what we started from the dietitian that came in was we started doing the
dessert with dinner.
Yep. And I really like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it for me personally. I prefer dessert at 10 p.m., but that's just me. But I feel like for the rest of the family, like he doesn't like it either. But like for Brighton, it's just there. It kind of like takes the pressure off. I don't know.
Right, for sure. All right, hey, we want to remind you we have a new episode dropping every Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. on your favorite podcast platform. So go ahead and click like and subscribe so we can keep bringing you more. And if you do nothing else today, go find yourself a friend you don't need to clean the house for. We'll see you soon.